Okay. Hi everyone, I'm here and oh right, I forgot. The music cut out at that part. Sorry. But hi everyone. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the Storyteller's Corner. We are on episode 4. I can't believe it. But I'm glad we're on episode 4. I'm glad you guys seem to enjoy these live streams. Hi Kira Gaming, welcome. You're the first person to come to the Storyteller's live stream. So today's fairy tale is the adaptation that I'm going to be telling you is from a picture book that I used to own as a little girl that was very near and dear to my heart. Judging by the cat ears on my head. Today's story is going to be Puss and Boots. Now, Puss and Boots is one of those fairy tales that falls under the trope of the companion, which usually is a fairy tale that centers around a human having an animal companion. A fox, a snake, a cat, a rabbit are some of the common ones. Sometimes a bird as well. And basically the stories of the animal helping their master fulfill their quest or mission. Some examples of these fairy tales would be the story of the fox, a Hungarian folk tale. Pray for mercy from Puss and Boots. Yes, very clever reference, and yes, I got my cat shirt on, I have my cat ears on, so, let's get into this. Anyway, what I was saying before. So, yeah, some examples of the animal companion fairy tales are The Fox, which is a Hungarian folk tale involving a fox who helps a prince, the youngest prince of his family, find the magical bird that, when it sings, brings his father back to his youth. Another example would be the story of Cinderella. As in the Grimm fairy tale, she has birds who help her pick out the lentils from the ashes. They also tell the prince 3 times that he's not getting the right princess, which is a whole other concept for another fairy tale, after all. And then another fairy tale example would be, I believe it's an Aesop fable, but it's the story of the lion and the mouse, in which the mouse helps free a lion from a trap after the lion spares it from eating it. And then, of course, there's the infamous story of Puss and Boots. Now, this picture book was one that I had, as I mentioned before, as a little girl. And I read this whenever I went to my grandparents' house, and this is what the back looks like. When I was 13 or so, I gathered up a bunch of books that were near and dear to me as a child, and then I donated them because I was too old for them. This was a stupid decision on my part, and after being reminded of the illustrations in various dreams and in just various random thoughts, I dug around on the internet for a bit, and I found a copy on eBay. So I bought it, and there you go. Which makes me happy. But yeah, so now another thing I forgot to mention was the animal companion could also be tied into the fairy companion, which is of the same premise of a fairy, usually a small benevolent one, helping the main character on their quest or rewarding them in some way. Some examples of this is the French story of the fairies, and an example of the fairy companion would be the 3 good fairies from the original Sleeping Beauty, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. And then an animated example of the animal companion would be Sebastian, Flounder, and Scuttle from Disney's Little Mermaid. So those are some examples, and I personally think it's interesting how the concept of animal companions has gone on throughout the years. I mean, there's the stories of witches with their familiars, which are said to help increase their magic, and such like that. And I think it's interesting. And there's always been this thing that animals are a bit more wiser than humans. And I mean, they know things that we don't. That was the concept. And I mean, in some cases, these concepts were kind of on the money, because animals, for the most part, aren't human. They're definitely not human, but they don't behave as humans do. They don't go out of their way to upset and cause destruction. However, there are some exceptions with coyotes who will straight up kill and not just eat, and not eat the kills. They'll just kill for the sake of it. Because, well, they are canines, and it's that hunt for them. Anyway, so, but yeah, today's story, very near and dear to me, and we're going to be delving into the concept of the animal companion once this song ends. If you guys want to ask some questions, or, come and make some comments before I read the story, because I'll read once the song ends, feel free to come in and ask me some questions. Also, thank you for 608 subscribers. I'm happy we've made it this far. I've been telling my boyfriend, and he's like, "You need more," and I've told him no. 608 is plenty for me. I don't need any more, but again, I'm glad you guys enjoy my content. It makes me happy. But yeah, I did have a pair of black cat ears, black velvet ones, but I couldn't find them. And I have a pair of black ones, but they got a veil over them. You do need more, Kira. That's very kind of you, but I try not to get too proud. I like staying humble, and I think this is enough for me. I think 608 is enough, but we'll see what happens. If I get to 1,000, which my boyfriend is insistent on, then I'll get to 1,000, and I'll probably do another celebratory live stream. Heck, I'll do a celebratory live stream when I reach 700, but I don't think that's gonna happen for a while. Now. I'm just gonna double check the music. Sorry, but yeah, feel free to ask me questions before the story. Are you excited for the new Puss and Boots sequel? I actually own the Puss and Boots movie. I enjoy it. I love the concepts that they use. For the sequel, I'm definitely interested in how they go with it. I like the concept of how they followed through with the concept of cats having 9 lives, in which the reason why that started was because they seemed to get out of danger extremely easy. So I'm definitely excited for that sequel. I'm curious to see what they do. Also, I like how they do Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. Hi, gorgeous. My hi and hush. Not gorgeous. I just brushed my hair a little bit, and I put on some tinted lipstick and some jewelry, which I think was fitting for the occasion. But without further ado, this is Puss in Boots, illustrated by Johan Klinger and Norma Rivera. I probably butchered those names. I apologize. And then this is what the inside looks like. And yes, I will be showing the illustrations. If I have... You're always pretty... Oh, well, thank you, my... Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. One of my friend... Sorry. It would not be a live stream of mine if something weren't going wrong, but thank you, though. Still, I'm not even wearing full makeup again. I'm just wearing tinted lipsticks and jewelry, even a little bit of perfume, though you can't really smell the perfume. It's raspberry scented. Anyway, so Puss in Boots, this is what the cover looks like. And Kira's here. Yes, they are. And then I really like this picture. If I have a book and it has illustrations, I'll definitely show them to you, unless you guys don't want me to. So, all right. Puss in Boots. There was once a poor miller who died. Now this miller had 3 sons, and to them he left all that he owned. The sons divided the property among themselves. The oldest brother took the mill, the middle brother took the donkey, and the youngest brother was left only with the miller's cat. Hi, Modern Viking. Glad you could come to the live stream. I'm reading Puss in Boots. The youngest brother was very unhappy with his poor share. He shook his head sadly, saying, "My 2 brothers shall be able to make a living with their shares, but I will only have a muff to keep me warm after I skin the cat." You're saying hoy. I thought you said hot. Sorry. My eyes are really bad. Anyway. The cat overheard the terrible fate awaiting him and decided to speak. "Young master, do not worry. If you will but give me a good strong sack, a pair of boots for my feet, and a hat to keep the sun from my face, you will soon see that you have been given the best share of your father's estate." And then you have the youngest miller's son and his cat, who looks to be like a golden tabby cat, which makes me happy. I mean, I like all cats, but anywho. The young man didn't place any great hope on the cat's words, but he did remember how clever and cunning the cat could be in catching mice. So with nothing to lose, he gave the cat what he asked for. Puss pulled on his boots, fit the hat snugly on his head, and slung the sack over his shoulders, and with the tip of his hat, he set off down the road, whistling a happy tune. You're such a good reader. Have you ever read stories for children? I think I have. Actually, I did when I was in school. I was in 7th or 8th grade, and one of the things my school did was they would have us check out a children's book, and we'd read it to the younger grades, like 1st and 2nd grade, if I remember right. And then we have Puss in his boots whistling, and I can't whistle that well, but he is whistling too, and he's got his hat, his sack, and his boots, and he's ready to go. But thank you, I appreciate the compliment. Yeah. And then, of course, I've sometimes read to myself before. Anyway, Puss set off to where he knew a great many rabbits were to be found. Placing a few carrots in the sack, he put it down in a clearing and then hid himself in the bushes. No sooner had he hid than a group of fat rabbits came by and went straight into the sack. Puss jumped out from his hiding place and pulled the strings on the sack, trapping his catch. Very pleased with himself, Puss threw the sack over his shoulder and set off for the royal palace at once. Chunk rabbits. Yes, chunk rabbits. And Puss is very pleased with his catch. Like, aha! I'm sorry. At the palace, he asked to see the king. He was shown into the royal court, where he made a low bow and doffed his hat before the king, doffed being to take off the hat. "Your Majesty," said Puss, "please accept these fat rabbits as a gift from my master, the Marquis of Carabas." This was the name Puss had decided to call his young master. "Tell your master," replied the king, "that we thank him for his gift, which gives us great pleasure." Puss once again gave a gracious bow, and then left. Royal Naga, ooh woo. Well, I believe people in modern media say that Naga is male while Lamia is female. I always thought that Lamias were the constrictors, whereas Nagas were venomous. But yeah, there's the king, and there's Puss giving him the fat rabbits. The very fat rabbits. The next day, Puss went to a cornfield where a great many partridges gathered. He put a few kernels of corn inside the sack and then hid among the stalks. Before long, 4 fat partridges ran right into the sack. Puss pounced and drew the sack shut. Then he was off once again to the royal palace. Excuse me. Puss presented the partridges to the king, just as he had done with the rabbits. The king accepted them with equal pleasure, and again bid Puss to thank the Marquis of Carabas. For 2 or 3 months Puss went on this way, taking the king occasional presents of game or fish. Then one day he learned that the king was to take a drive along the river bank with his daughter, who was as yet unmarried. A partridge is a very plump bird. It's a game bird. It's a part. If you've heard the Christmas Carol, it's a partridge in a pear tree. So it's definitely a bird that would be good eating. This illustration, they look more like quail to me. Quails having that little top knot. But yeah, I hope, yes, partridge is a type of bird. It's a burb. Baby burb. And once again, we have Puss very pleased with his catch, like, meow. Dancing burb. Well, these birds aren't dancing, but they are going into a sack. So, that sounded weird. I apologize. Now, Puss said to his master, "If you do as I tell you, your fortune shall be made. All you have to do is go for a swim in the river at a spot I shall show you, and leave the rest to me." The young man had no idea what good it would do to take a swim in the river, but he did as his cat told him. Lol, yes, we have Puss telling his master, "If you just listen as I say and go for a swim in the river, your fortune shall be made." Viking is new to the live streams, but he and I talk a lot. He and I are very good friends. His schemes are as devious as mine, and my crazy is as great as his. But yeah, I don't think he's ever showed up for a live stream. While he was swimming, the king came by, and Puss began to scream at the top of his voice, "Help! Help! The Marquis of Carabas is drowning!" At these cries, the king put his head out of the coach window and, recognizing the cat who had often brought him gifts, ordered his guards to hurry and rescue the young man. Got Puss telling the king that his master, the Marquis of Carabas, is drowning by screaming and yowling at the top of his lungs. Sorry. As they were pulling the young man from the river, Puss went up to the royal coach and told the king that his master was bathing. And told the king that as his master was bathing, some thieves had come along and carried off his clothes. In truth, Puss had hidden them under a stone. The king immediately commanded a man to return to the palace and fetch one of his best suits for the Marquis of Carabas. Once the young man was dressed in the fine clothes of the king, he looked quite handsome, and the princess was taken with him at once. The king, seeing his daughter's fondness for the young man, invited him into the coach to continue the ride with them. And we see the miller's son all cleaned up in his fancy attire, and we see the princess as well. This is one of the reasons why I was so fond of this story, because of all the illustrations. They were so pretty, and I'm glad I was able to find it again. Puss, delighted to see his plan going so well, ran along ahead and presently came upon some peasants mowing a fine lawn. "Listen well, good people," Puss called out to them. "Unless you tell the king that the lawn you are cutting belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, you will all be chopped into little pieces." And sure enough, the king asked the peasants whose fine lawn they were mowing. "It belongs to the Marquis of Carabas," they all answered together, terrified by Puss's threat. "You have a fine estate," said the king to the Marquis. The young man smiled graciously but said nothing. He laughed inside, though, as he began to understand what the cat was up to. That clever Puss, he thought. Puss went farther on ahead until he came upon some reapers cutting and rolling hay. "Listen well, good harvesters," Puss called out to them. "Unless you tell the king that this hayfield belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, you will all be chopped into little pieces." A moment later, the king passed by and asked the reapers who owned the hayfield. "The Marquis of Carabas," they all answered. "My word," the king said. "I congratulate you, sir, for your wealth must be great." And still Puss ran along ahead. At last he came to a splendid castle. It belonged to an ogre who was the richest ever seen. In fact, all the lands the kings had passed were really part of his estates. Puss boldly walked in, knowing full well of the ogre's might and magic. And of course, Puss had a plan. And then you see Puss with the harvesters, and I don't think I showed you the picture before, but these were the peasants mowing the fine lawn that they said belongs to Marquis of Carabas, so I apologize for that. There's that picture, and then this one, so we're in order. I apologize for not showing you. I got distracted. And so we see Puss walking into the ogre's castle with a plan in his head. So what is Puss going to do? The ogre received Puss as politely as an ogre can, and asked why he had come to his castle. Puss stepped forward and gave a low bow, saying, "I have been told that you have the power to change yourself into any kind of animal." that you can, for instance, change into a lion, perhaps? Shrek. I'm just kidding. Hardy har. Andre Gibson Smith. But no, you'll see what the ogre looks like. There's an illustration of him. Quite true, cat, the ogre said gruffly. And to show you, behold, a lion! Puss almost jumped out of his boots, for in the next moment a huge lion stood before him. Shrek has dyslexia. No, this ogre is not Shrek. This is what the ogre looks like here. This is the ogre. He's got a very hunched back and a very big nose. But that is the ogre. And here is the illustration of him turning into a lion and Puss almost jumping out of his boots. Poor Puss. Oh, yep, a mighty lion. And I can't roar like a lion. I don't have a sound fox with me, so I'm sorry. But Puss took courage and stepped up nose to nose with the lion. Shrek's ugly cousin. Okay, ha, very funny tree spirit. Impressive, my lord, said Puss with just a little tremble in his voice. But I have heard your magic is even greater, though I can scarcely believe it. What do you mean, cat? Roared the ogre. I have heard that you have the power to change yourself into the smallest of animals as well, Puss said boldly. For instance, to change into a mouse would really be something, though I think it would be quite impossible, even with your powers. Impossible! The ogre roared. Behold, stupid cat! Illustration of Puss using his clever wit, saying, turning into a mouse would really be impressive. Instantly, he changed himself into a mouse and began to run about the floor. Impressive, my lord. Really quite impressive, laughed Puss. The ogre realized too late that he had been tricked. Puss pounced on the little mouse and ate him up. Here's the illustration of the ogre turning into a mouse. Uh-oh. Yep. Uh-oh indeed. For Puss is a clever cat. And here we see him catching the ogre by the tail before he eats him all up. After a while, the king came by and seeing the ogre's splendid castle was anxious to go inside. All the cat wanted was a snack. I mean, he's got to eat, and it doesn't say whether he's been eating despite all these trips he's been making to secure his master's fortune. Tree spirit? Rodent. Yes. Yes. I mean, cats eat mice. That is the nature of it. Hi, Akira Yamaguchi Kitsune. I am reading Puss and Boots, and we're just at the part where Puss has finished tricking the ogre and eating him up since he tricked the ogre into turning into a mouse. Ratatouille. Well, yes, but no, because the ogre turned into a mouse, so it would be Mouse-tatouille. Mouse-tatouille. That rolls off the tongue. I'm sorry. We're getting off track. I'm getting distracted. When Puss in Boots having a sequel? I don't know. I think it's coming out this summer. Ratatata, I choose you. Mouseworks, I choose you. Anywho, gotta go back to the beginning of the page. After a while, the king came by and, seeing the ogre's splendid castle, was anxious to go inside it. Puss heard the carriage outside and ran out to meet the king. Welcome, your majesty, Puss cried out, to the castle of the Marquis of Carabas. The Marquis, exclaimed the king. Does this fine castle belong to him? If it please your majesty, said Puss, let me show you my master's fine home. And they went inside the castle and feasted on the fine meal that the ogre had set out for himself. Bestie, yes. Oh, whoops. I almost forgot. To show you. But here's the illustration of Puss welcoming the king and his daughter into the Marquis of Carabas's fine estate. The king was so delighted with the young man, as well as his vast wealth, that it wasn't long before the Marquis of Carabas was wed to the beautiful princess. The Marquis of Carabas and the princess moved into the castle and lived quite happily, I am told. And what of Puss, you might ask? And here we see the Marquis de Carabas, a former miller's son, being married to the princess and living quite happily. Or so I've been told. Ari has arrived. I'm here. Sorry for being late. Oh, it's fine, Ari, sweetheart. Things happen. I don't mind. You can always rewatch the live stream to get the full story, but we're just wrapping up the story here. So, the Marquis of Carabas and the princess are married and they live happily ever after. But what happens to Puss? Well, as for Puss, he became a very great lord indeed and gave up chasing mice, except, of course, when it amused him from time to time. And here's Puss being doted upon by some mice because he gave up chasing them, except when it amused him from time to time. And that is the end of one adaptation of Puss and Boots. This book is dedicated to Greg, Tim, Jean, Mary, and Lou with love. It says in the back. And then we see. Then this is what the back looks like. But that is the end of the story of Puss and Boots. Now, I know for the past fairy tales, the last 3 episodes, for the most part, I've always talked about nice. I love how your voice is so perfect for storytelling. Well, thank you, Ari. I know, right? She's so good. Well, thank you. I learned a lot from my dad, as he always told me stories as a kid, a lot of bedtime stories, which I grew up with. But I also watched Jim Henson's The Storyteller. So that's another way I learned. Props to your father. Yes, he is very good storyteller. Everyone in my family, for the most part, is a storyteller. It's a part of my family, and my grandfather always used to tell me a lot of stories, me and my brother's stories, before he passed away. But it's special to me. It's important, and so I don't know. It's just something comforting to me. Whoops. But yeah, I enjoy telling stories. And also, where are you from? You in USA? Yes, I am in the United States. Where? Nobody knows. I'm just somewhere in the United States of America. Can you tell by my American voice and my American-y zaniness? I don't know. I'm sorry, but yeah. So I've always talked about morals, or tried to at least find a moral in the story. When are we great audiobook with your voice in Spotify? I don't know what that means. If you mean when am I going to do an audiobook, I don't know. Plot twist. She lives in our walls. Oh god. She lives in our walls. Yeah, I can just shrink myself to the size of a bat and I just crawl into your walls like, "Hi, friend. Do you have strawberries and a moment for a bedtime story?" Ari lives in my basement. I mean, I could live anywhere provided I have food, a shower, and a comfortable place to sleep. I'm not picky. I could live in a basement. I could live in walls if I had magic. But I don't have magic, so I can't really live in walls unless the walls are like, wide and thick and like plenty of moving room, because I like to move around and stuff. So I could live in a basement. I could live in an attic. I could just live in a room. I could probably live on a bookshelf if I tried hard enough. Under Gibson Smith. But yes, so jeez, hang on a sec. Sorry for all of that. I have family members roaming around. I want to see other stories like Mulan or Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Mulan! Well, I don't have the story of Mulan on me. I don't have it in my library collection. I could probably find it online and print a copy. I definitely got some fairy tales that are like bits of paper, and I've just printed the stories out. I could try and find that, but I do have a copy of Goldilocks and the Three Bears in my library that I could definitely read at some point, which would once again go into the rule of three. Mulan is my favorite. Well, I only heard of the story through John Solo, but as a kid, I grew up on all the classic Disney. One of those Disney movies being Mulan, so I do know the story. But yeah, as I was saying, I swear I have the attention span of a butterfly on Red Bull. But as I was saying, for the most part in these live streams, I've always tried to find a moral, because in fairy tales there usually is always a moral to find. Plus, I want to be Yang Xiaolong references Goldilocks. I'm very confused, but okay. More power to it, I guess. But anyway, so again, in some of these live streams, I'm always trying to find a moral, and I give you guys my takeaway of what I think the moral might be. For the moral of Puss and Boots, I would say that moral is use a Butterfree Pokemon that's high on Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull, sugar, and also tea. But yeah, anyway, so my personal take, the moral from Puss in Boots would be, if you try hard enough, there's a way to make a fortune for yourself. Now, obviously, the miller's son has help from his cat, but there are ways and strawberries, Your Highness. Yes, I'm basically a Butterfree on Red Bull, strawberries, candy, and tea, among other things. So yeah, Puss obviously helps his master secure his fortune, but as humans, we're able to find strawberry Red Bull. They don't have that flavor. If they did, though, I'd be interested and I'd probably drink a lot of it. But yeah, so sometimes people are given really good hands in life. Sometimes people don't have really good hands that they're dealt in life at first. Like the miller's son. He thought he got the short end of the stick by just having a cat. We are able to find strawberry Red Bull. She is Goldilocks with punches set on fire. Ah, the sentence was perfect. Yeah, well, if you find a strawberry Red Bull, let me know where they are and I'll just try and order some. But yeah, so sometimes, anyway, let me just rephrase this. I swear. Sorry. So no one can control the kind of hand they're given in life. Sometimes you have a really good start in life. Sometimes your start in life is a little rocky. But there is always a way to find a fortune for yourself and to make something of the hand you were dealt. Like taking something bad and turning it into good. Like again, the miller's son thought he had gotten the short end of the stick by inheriting the cat. But by inheriting Puss, that was the best thing that ever happened to him. I could obviously go into some of I could easily go into some of my beliefs that semi tie in with these moral of there's a way to turn things around for the better. But I'm going to try not to, but it is possible if one tries. You can take something bad like ending up with a cat inheritance and it could turn for the better. For me, an example would be, so my boyfriend, this another side's an extra story, but an example of this for me at least would be when I was 16. Oh, good moral. Yes, sorry, thank you. Again, I could go into my belief as it does somewhat tie in, but I'm going to try not to because I know some people are very touchy about my belief. So not going in that, but an example of something bad turning to something good actually happened to me when I was 16. Actually, no, Ari, you know, Blueberry, you just look like you. Shut me. Ari is the Duke of Lemons. Ari is the Duke of Lemons. They are not the Duke of Blueberries. They are Duke of Lemon. So they get lemon cream pies. but Co is cute. Hush. No fighting in the chats, please. But anyway, so an example of something bad turning to something good for me. When I was 16 years old, me and my family, we all got into the van and we went on a road trip all the way to South Dakota, where my mom is from. And on our way home, in the middle of the road, our van broke down. So we were kind of stuck. We were able to get a tow, and my dad phones the people who have our car insurance, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, so yeah, we can get your car and we can get a place for you to stay." And we ended up staying for a relatively reasonable price. We ended up staying in this massive suite, like extra bedrooms, and it was amazing. This hotel was very high end, by the way. It was just, it blew my mind. And we got to stay in this fancy hotel in a deluxe suite room. I add again. We had dinner, and well, we were just very grateful for this, and so of course we said thanks to anyway. But we were very grateful. So that was so that's just one part of that. And then we wake up because my dad was told that the car piece that we needed to replace was going to take a while. Turns out it came by overnight, and they were able to fix up our car in a jiff. So we were able to stay in this hotel, and our car was able to get fixed so we could continue the car ride back home to my hometown, which, again, getting stuck with a broken car in the middle of Montana, I think that's where we were. That sucks, but we ended up staying in a suite. They had a pool and everything, and the car was able to get fixed overnight. So yeah, that is an example that happened to me. I've witnessed it. It would be considered nothing short of a miracle of good fortune. So yeah, that's my take, though. The moral of Puss in Boots: no matter what hand you're given, there is always a way to turn it into something good. There's always a way, if you think about it, to turn something bad into something good. That is my take on it. This live stream has gone on for 37 minutes and 23 seconds. I have another adaptation of Puss in Boots in my library. I just wanted to show you guys this one because, well, again, it's very special to me, and I wanted to share that with you guys. But I have another story, being the French version of Puss in Boots. And let me know in the comments below, like, if you guys would like to see me read different adaptations of fairy tales, because with adaptations, the stories are the same, but there are little details that change. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that, but yeah, let me know in the comments. That's that. I think I've told the story. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it at least. Now you can read to my grandma. She lives for French. Well, it's translated to English, but it's, you know what I mean. I can speak a few languages. I know a few words of French. Bonne chance, which is good luck. I know how to say hello, my name is, and goodbye. And I also know how to say I love you in French, which, I have yet to say to my boyfriend. Oh, I've read some fairy tale adaptations, and they're pretty cool, yeah. But the original fairy tales are a lot darker and a lot more bloodier. I'm learning Japanese. Well, good for you, Andre. I hope that goes very well for you. I want to try and learn a new language, but yeah, these fairy tales in their original forms are a lot bloodier and a lot darker because, again, these fairy tales were made by adults for adults, and just over time they've become sweeter and more child-friendly. And I definitely enjoy reading these fairy tales with you guys in all their darkness, because as a wise man known as Adam Gidwitz once quoted or said, I'm not sure, but in the darkest zones one finds the brightest beauty, the most luminous wisdom, and the most blood. I like dark versions, to be honest. Same here. And again, these dark versions are where the morals are often found. It's interesting to see what they were before. I agree. These stories are the original stories are, again, they're made by adults for adults, so they're wilder, they're more primitive. They're not they're not sweet. Well, they are sweet, but they're bittersweet, and you have to sort of earn that sweetness in a way. Me and watching TBHK, we are the dark bitches. Oh, I don't know. I think May and Ari, I think you two are quite sweet. If anything, I'm kind of the dark one, considering all the things I study and some of the things I know about for writing. I don't know what's happening anymore. I'm just chilling here eating ice. Eating ice. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think this live stream it's gone on for 43 minutes. But yeah, thank you guys for reading the story. Maybe later on in the evening I'll read another story. We'll see. But yeah, thank you so much for coming to the live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.